dear polymer clay enthusiast. Do you like candle holders? I personally like to light a candle in my studio, and it helps with my creativity and my relaxation. Hi again, I'm Mihaela from Learn Polymer Clay, and I want to inspire you to make an Easter inspired clay candle holder, or anyway, a candle holder that you can use for any special occasion. So let's dive into the tutorial. So after properly conditioning the polymer clay, and I'm working with Opaline Cernit polymer clay, and you will notice that my baked piece will have a slightly translucent effect because of this special clay. So as I said, I've properly conditioned the clay, and then I passed it through the setting number 2 of my Atlas pasta machine. And then I've just used an embossing folder to texture the clay back and front, and in fact I like using such embossing folders because not only you get to texture the front and the back in the same time, but normally if your embossing folder is clean, your clay should not stick to this plastic embossing folder. If you notice that your clay does stick, this means that either you have scrap clay trapped inside the embossing folder, or I suggest you should add a little bit of water, and this should not happen again. So as I said, I've prepared my clay. I've properly conditioned my clay, and I passed it through the setting number 3 of my Atlas pasta machine. And I'm going to use 3 sizes of petal shaped cutters. So I have a larger one, a medium and a smaller one, and of course you can tweak this idea and use other sizes of cutters. My candle holder was a little bit big because I wanted to be a centerpiece for an Easter table. So you will have to take this into consideration, that if you use larger cutters, you will have a larger candle holder, of course. Then I passed the clay through the pasta machine again. This time I used the setting number 2 of my Atlas pasta machine, and then I used 2 round cutters to cut 2 round pieces of clay, and I'm going to use one for the back of the clay holder, and the other one I'm going to decorate it with pastels, and I'm going to put it on top underneath the candle. Next, I'm going to use gold color wire, and and some yellow Swarovski bicone crystals, and I'm going to make a little I'm going to make little crystal embellishments for my candle holder to give it a more festive look. So in order to do so, I cut small amounts, small lengths of wire. I put the bicone on the wire. I put it in the middle, and then I twisted the 2 ends of the wire together, and then I used my round nose pliers to make loops on both ends of the wire. And in fact, these loops are going to be trapped, sandwiched between layers of clay. So I've made these loops just so that I can embed them into the clay, and thus I'm making sure that they are not going to come out of the clay. So for the back of the candle holder, I've cut a round piece of clay, and then I used ultramarine blue pan pastel, and I've just used my fingers and I applied several layers of pan pastels, of blue pan pastel. So you should, if you can use an applicator, of course. I prefer to use my fingers. So you should pass your finger on top of the pastel and then rub it against the clay, and do this several times. It is not recommended to make a rotary motion on top of the pastels, because you will create a lot of pastel dust. And if you notice that you have pastel dust on top of your pieces, you should blow air on top of it and remove the extra pastel. And for the front piece, for the piece that I intend to use for the front of the candle holder, I've used a create a long tribal stencil coin with a very beautiful pattern. And I used pastel, and I am going to use blue pastel to color one side of the petal, one side of the petal. And I will do this for all the petals. You have the larger, the medium-sized ones, and the smaller ones. And again, I'm using my fingers, but you could use an applicator. And on the other side, I've used gold color metal wax. Don't forget to apply wax on the sides as well, and you'll have a very beautiful effect on the finished candle holder. So now it's time to put the pieces together. I've used the colored piece, so you'll have to flip the first colored round piece. You'll have to flip it on the other side, and then I've put on top 6 leaves with the blue facing my work table. For the second layer of medium sized petals, I applied them in between the first 6 ones, but then I decided to flip them on the other side. So for the medium sized petals, I wanted them to put them with the blue part on top. And as you can see, I arranged them in between the first petals. For the last row of petals, I decided to put them with the gold on top, and I applied them in between the second petals. I've only used 5, so I've used 6 petals for the first row, 6 for the second row, and only 5 for the third row. And I had to use a round cutter and make the central round piece smaller so that it would fit nicely in between the petals. I am going to use liquid clay as a bonding agent, like a glue, because I have a lot of surface treatment agents like pastels and wax, and so the raw clay would not necessarily stick to raw clay if you have a lot of colors on top of the clay. And of course, this liquid clay will ensure the fact that the decorative wire, wire wrapped crystals will stay in place as well. And you have to press them into the base in the same time. So I'm pressing them into the clay. and you'll have to decide which size of piece you want for the center of the candle holder. So I gradually cut my central piece shorter, and I think this size fits well. And I also pass my finger on top of the piece, and I spread a little bit the blue pastel, because I thought that there was a very high contrast between the white base and the stenciled blue pastel part. So I wanted to have a light blue piece. I also used I've used again gold color wax to color the margins of this piece as well, to have a beautiful elegant look on the finished piece. And then I put it on top of the petals, and I pressed it into the base. And this is very important, to press all the elements into the base. And then you'll just have to curl a little bit the petals, especially those with the blue on the back, and you'll have a very beautiful effect with this blue curling part showing in the final piece. I've also curled the small petals a little bit. I personally like this curled page effect for my clay holder, and I hope you like it too, and I hope you'll use it in your work. And then you'll just have to bake your piece for 60 minutes at the temperature recommended by the polymer clay manufacturer. I baked my piece on parchment paper, so I don't have a glossy look. If I would bake them directly on the tile, I might get a glossy look on the piece. I also tint my pieces so that so in order to protect them from direct heat. And of course you can tweak this idea to make incense holders, or you can make other beautiful clay components or earrings. Press the like button if you like the tutorial, share your impressions with me in the comment box, and I invite you also to subscribe to my channel for more inspiration for work with clay. Thank you, and stay tuned for more inspiration for work with clay.